Support for our podcast comes from Symphony 3, which has announced exciting news. It's launched its innovative Smart Glue platform on the AWS marketplace. That makes the secure and affordable integration solution accessible to government agencies worldwide. The platform includes over 50 pre-built connectors specifically designed for public sector systems, government APIs, enterprise solutions and AWS services to transform citizen experiences by breaking down data silos. Smart Glue delivers operational excellence for local governments through cost reduction, process optimization, improved decision-making and scalable architecture, all while maintaining comprehensive security and compliance standards required by public sector organisations. Get in touch to see how Symphony 3's expanded team and solutions can support your goals. Head to symphony3.com to find out more. Coming up on the Roundup, a suspended mayor's court challenge edges closer. A rural mayor calls for sector support for its battle with the EPA. A New South Wales councillor resigns amid reported financial troubles. Asbestos contamination concerns widen in Liverpool. A copper smelter rescue package welcomed in Queensland. A council calls for help in the fight against tree vandalism. And a bloodbath for incumbent mayors in New Zealand elections. Hello, I'm Chris Eddy, back with more news from and about councils across Australia and beyond on the Local Government News Roundup. The podcast brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government, with support from Symphony 3, simple, connected customer experiences. Welcome back to the podcast. It's Monday the 13th of October, and as we await the release of a Commission of Inquiry report into Whittlesea City Council, its suspended Mayor Aidan McClendon's case against Local Government Minister Nick Stakos was back in the Supreme Court last week. A directions hearing was held for Mr McClendon's challenge against his suspension, at which arguments were heard about whether and how the Commission's report, once tabled, would be used in the proceedings. Mr McClendon told the Roundup that a third directions hearing will be held on the 10th of December and a trial date has been set for late April. But Mr McClendon's suspension by the Minister was for 6 months, effective the 16th of April, meaning it's due to expire this week. Moorabool Shire Council says it's received support from councils across Victoria, including through a motion at the MAV conference, regarding its dispute with the EPA. The dispute centres on a VCAT decision requiring the council to pay for cleaning up toxic waste illegally dumped on Crown land by an operator known to the EPA. The council wants urgent government policy reform to shift financial responsibility for illegal dumping away from councils to the perpetrators, and it's hosting an illegal dumping summit on the 30th of October to develop collaborative solutions. Moorabool Mayor Councillor Paul Tatchell is scheduled to join me here on the Roundup on an upcoming edition to talk about why the summit is being organised and his concerns about the implications for the local government sector. In related news, the Victorian Government has announced a $21.5 million injection to strengthen its illegal dumping task force and support councils in cleaning up illegally dumped waste across the state. The new measures include enhanced surveillance, enforcement and financial assistance covering up to 50% of cleanup costs. The EPA-led task force will increase monitoring, review fines, pursue offenders through courts and publicly shame those responsible for illegal dumping, which carries maximum penalties of $3.95 million for businesses and $800,000 or 5 years imprisonment for individuals. The National Basketball League says it would strongly consider granting Geelong a professional basketball licence if the City of Greater Geelong's proposed regional indoor sports and events centre is built at Geelong Arena. That's according to a report from the Geelong Advertiser. The council has identified the arena upgrade as the missing link for hosting elite-level sports and large-scale entertainment events, with capacity for 5,000 to 8,000 spectators planned. The current facility has significant issues, including asbestos contamination and poor spectator amenities. The improved venue would also benefit the WNBL's Geelong Venom. Mornington Peninsula Shire residents are being urged to check what they're putting in their recycling bins after contamination rates have cost the Shire an additional $1 million in processing fees. The contamination rate has jumped from under 15% to almost 18%. The Shire is launching a new education campaign called Bin It Right, Futures Bright, and will continue conducting periodic bin inspections to help identify common recycling mistakes. Ararat Rural City Council says heavy vehicles and inappropriate usage have caused significant damage to a road undergoing upgrade works, threatening the progress and quality of the improvements. The council is urging road users to exercise greater care on Mount William Road, urging drivers to follow posted signage and avoid unnecessary heavy equipment use to help protect the public asset. And East Gippsland Shire Council has welcomed the federal government's draft Universal Outdoor Mobile Obligation legislation that will require mobile carriers to provide reasonable access to mobile services outdoors across Australia. The council views this as a positive step for rural and remote areas, following years of advocacy for improved telecommunications infrastructure, particularly after the 2019-20 bushfires. But it says further improvements are needed, including emergency roaming, mandatory reliability standards, and better backup infrastructure for remote communities. More Victorian Council news briefs. The City of Greater Bendigo will take over management of the Eagle Hawk Recycle Centre after the shop's board announced its closure due to financial difficulties. The council has announced the transition will take effect on the 1st of November, and it's working to ensure continuity of service and identify employment opportunities for existing staff. Hume City Council has opened its Sports Aid Grant program for applications, offering funding up to $1,000 for young athletes representing Hume at major events. Sunbury Life reported the program has been updated to encourage more applications from girls and young women. And Strathbogie Shire Council has welcomed state government funding for crucial upgrades across key local routes, including stretches of the Hume Freeway at Tallarook and resurfacing at Seymour and Tabilk. Mayor Claire Ewart-Kennedy said the investment recognises the importance of maintaining safe and resilient road networks in rural Victoria. This is the Local Government News Roundup. It's Monday the 13th of October. Our podcast brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, and we receive support from Symphony 3. Simple, connected customer experiences. Their Smart Glue platform is now making waves worldwide. It's available to local authorities across the globe on the AWS Global Marketplace. A local councillor in the Hunter Valley has resigned after 5 years of service, citing work commitments, but the Newcastle Herald reports the resignation comes amid financial troubles. Cessnock City Councillor Rosa Grine submitted her resignation last month, issuing a statement in which she said work commitments made it difficult to give the role the time it deserved. Earlier this year, the New South Wales District Court ordered Ms Grine to pay almost $600,000 to a former employee of her restaurant. The court heard the money was loaned to help expand the business in 2018, though Ms Grine maintained it was a gift. Ms Grine is now listed on the National Personal Insolvency Index as an undischarged bankrupt, though she declined to comment on her financial status when contacted by the Herald. The council is now working with the New South Wales Electoral Commission to conduct a countback election to fill the vacancy. Results are expected by early November. Liverpool City Council is facing criticism over its handling of an asbestos contamination incident in southwest Sydney. The Sydney Morning Herald reported that the council removed more than 500 tonnes of contaminated soil from Pie Hill Reserve in Cecil Hills after a resident reported suspected asbestos in mid-August. But the council didn't close part of the reserve until 12 days after the initial report and 3 days after asbestos was confirmed. Local MP Karishma Kalyanda says residents weren't properly informed, and the council has apologised, confirming it missed one street in its letter drop. The EPA and SafeWork New South Wales are now investigating. The council has closed another site on Rickard Road in Chipping Norton while testing continues, and this past week has discovered 2 more contaminated areas at the reserve. 5 councils across southeast New South Wales are joining forces to demand a fairer deal from Transgrid's massive Hume Link transmission line project. Upper Lachlan Shire Council is leading the charge alongside Snowy Valleys, Yass Valley, Wagga Wagga and Cootamundra Gundagai councils. The Goulburn Post reported the councils are asking for ongoing payments similar to those being offered to landholders who host the infrastructure. The $4.8 billion HumeLink East project will see 237 kilometres of high-voltage transmission lines stretch across the 5 local government areas when it's completed in 2027. Warrumbungle Shire Council, in collaboration with New South Wales Police and New South Wales Health, has conducted a major enforcement operation in Dunedoo, seizing a significant quantity of illegal tobacco products from a hidden cabinet at a business premises. An emergency cease-use order was issued and serious charges are expected to be laid. The council says it remains committed to working with other agencies to stamp out the sale of illegal tobacco in the region. Georgia's River Council is pushing for reforms to increase transparency and accountability within the private certification industry, including public access to documentation and penalties for non-compliant certifiers. The council's advocacy follows community complaints about private certifiers being unresponsive to concerns, with residents calling for stronger local council controls and better state government regulation of the industry. The St George and Sutherland Shire leader reported the council is taking its push to next month's LG New South Wales annual conference. And Central Coast Council has announced that it will replace its fragmented IT systems with Technology One's unified One Council solution, a move projected to save $4.2 million over 10 years. Sean Dwyer from Technology One said the move will enable better decision-making through streamlined operations.
By transforming its current operations, Central Coast Council will reduce total cost of ownership, enhance governance and generate a single source of truth, enabling the council to make data-driven decisions that support its vision for an efficient future.
The council says its transformation is being driven by its financial recovery plan. More New South Wales Council briefs. Lismore City Council has received $1.98 million in funding to restore 42 hectares of critically endangered urban rainforests across 16 sites, aiming to protect native wildlife and improve local waterways through the Rainforest to River project. Blacktown City Council has opened a $15 million disability sports centre at Blacktown International Sports Park, the first of its kind in Western Sydney, funded by the New South Wales Government and developed with Disability Sports Australia. And Wagga Wagga City Council and Destiller GmbH, a world-leading natural food flavours facility in Germany, have signed an MOU to establish an exploration and innovation facility in Wagga Wagga. The two cities have had a 50-year sister city relationship, and Destiller is planning to use the Australian location as a base to explore local botanicals for new flavour opportunities in their international business. Still to come on our global report, we'll take a quick look at some of the results coming out of New Zealand after elections on the weekend. It's being described as a bloodbath, particularly for incumbent mayors. But let's go to Queensland now, where Sunshine Coast Mayor Rosanna Natoli has firmly rejected suggestions that South East Queensland should be rebranded as simply Brisbane in the lead-up to the 2032 Olympic Games. The Sunshine Coast News reported that the pushback comes after Brisbane 2032 Organising Committee President Andrew Leveris referred to the region as the Brisbane City region in recent comments to the Courier Mail. But Mayor Natoli is adamant the Sunshine Coast, located about 100 kilometres north of Brisbane, must maintain its unique identity. Federal MP for Fisher Andrew Wallace echoed that sentiment, saying he'd be absolutely and utterly opposed to lumping the regions together. The comments came during a round-table discussion on Friday about the region's future, where officials from all levels of government agreed on the need for better infrastructure and connectivity ahead of the Games. Good news, finally, for Mount Isa, as federal and state governments have come to the rescue of the city's copper smelter. After months of lobbying by Mayor Peter McRae and the Mount Isa community, a $600 million rescue package has been secured for the Mount Isa copper smelter. The funding, jointly provided by the federal and state governments, is a 3-year deal running to the end of 2028, with the possibility of a 2 + 1 year extension. The agreement includes funding for critical capital upgrades to the smelter, including a rebrick that Glencore has requested. Mayor McRae says while the community is relieved by the announcement, the fight for more investment and opportunities will continue. Redlands City Council is calling on residents to help stop a disturbing trend of tree vandalism that's hitting communities across the region. Mayor Joss Mitchell said multiple incidents have been reported in recent weeks, from Point Lookout on North Stradbroke Island to the mainland at Redland Bay and Carragara Island. In one troubling case, a public reserve near Home Beach has been targeted 3 times in just 1 month, with trees poisoned or cut down with chainsaws. Council is conducting investigations and increased surveillance and warns that offenders face fines under local laws or prosecution in the Magistrates' Court. A rubbish truck caught fire after batteries were improperly disposed of in a curbside bin, forcing the driver to dump the burning load on a Buxton Street last week. The Gold Coast Bulletin reported that 4 fire crews responded to the incident, the second of its type in a month for Bundaberg Regional Council, which averages over 30 fires annually in trucks or waste facilities due to incorrect battery and hazardous waste disposal. And Scenic Rim Regional Council has completed a targeted roadside fire ant treatment program covering 878 kilometres of local roads as part of a coordinated effort with the Queensland Government's Fire Ant Suppression Task Force. The program distributed approximately 1,400 kilograms of insect growth regulator bait along roadsides to help suppress the spread of fire ants, which pose significant threats to ecosystems, agriculture and daily life across Australia. A Tasmanian council is red-faced after an administrative bungle left its entire vehicle fleet unregistered and uninsured for a week, according to ABC News. West Coast Council has admitted to a major oversight that saw all of its vehicles, from passenger cars to heavy machinery, operating without registration for 7 days. The registration for the fleet expired on the 30th of September, but the $45,000 renewal bill wasn't paid until the 7th of October. During that time, multiple vehicles were driven on public roads illegally and without valid insurance. Acting General Manager Bill Hutchison says the mistake was due to a miscommunication between departments. Transport Minister Kerry Vincent has referred the matter to the Registrar of Motor Vehicles for investigation. Under Tasmanian law, driving unregistered vehicles can attract significant fines. A South Australian court has thrown out what a magistrate described as a frivolous and vexatious legal battle spanning 6 years. The Adelaide Advertiser reported that Port Augusta Magistrates Court has permanently stayed 372 charges filed by local resident Trevor Robertson against the Port Augusta Council and 3 law firms. Mr Robertson and his partner claim the council assigned a false address to their property, causing GPS and mapping systems to incorrectly direct people to their business. Alleging fraud and negligence, the couple refused to pay council rates, which led to the eventual sale of their properties for unpaid rates. Magistrate Michael Fotheringham dismissed all charges, describing them as an abuse of court process. In a statement, Port Augusta Council said Mr Robertson had been wholly unsuccessful in all court proceedings and criticised misleading social media posts about the case. The council emphasised that the private prosecution was never authorised by police or the Director of Public Prosecutions. In Western Australia, the government has opened applications for principal adjudicator and deputy adjudicators to replace the Local Government Standards Panel. The adjudicators will determine code of conduct breaches by council members with authority to impose sanctions, including suspension. Applications are open to legal practitioners with minimum 5 years' experience to work alongside the new local government inspector to strengthen integrity and accountability across WA's local government sector. The Shire of Narrogin has approved a $650 million Narrogin wind farm, the third major renewable energy project in the region. While the council says the development signals significant economic investment for the area, it has raised concerns about overridden local buffer protections and the absence of mandatory community benefit funds. It's urging the state government to conduct comprehensive assessments of cumulative impacts from the 6 proposed projects within its boundaries and 5 more in adjacent areas, ensuring community interests are protected and benefits flow transparently to affected residents. And in the NT, the government has appointed Tom Leeming to lead the Department of Housing, Local Government and Community Development. Mr Leeming is a 26-year public service veteran with 15 years' experience in senior executive positions. And now for our global report, starting in New Zealand, where results are coming in from the weekend's local government elections. with some surprising outcomes already confirmed in mayoral races. In Wellington, outgoing Mayor Tori Whānau has failed to win a council seat, according to the Post. She had opted not to recontest the mayoralty after a controversial 3-year term and had hoped to focus on returning as a councillor. Voters have elected former Cabinet Minister Andrew Little to the mayoralty in the capital. Auckland Mayor Wayne Brown and Christchurch Mayor Phil Major have been returned to office for second terms. Another former MP, Tim McIndoe, looks likely to win in Hamilton. Dunedin's incumbent Mayor Jules Radich is out of contention, as Newsroom reports that more than a dozen mayors have been ousted around the country. They include 3-term Mayor of Selwyn and President of Local Government New Zealand, Sam Broughton, who has conceded to Lydia Glidden, a farmer and 1-term councillor who captured 73% of the vote. Radio New Zealand reported that the results suggest voters have particularly turned against mayors who've presided over high rates rises in recent years. Nearly half of the 66 mayoral contests look likely to elect new faces in the roles. In a story from the Texas Tribune in the US, the residents of a rural community in Hood County, Texas, are taking an unusual step to fight back against noise from a massive cryptocurrency mining facility. Next month, voters will decide whether to incorporate as the city of Mitchell Bend, a move that would give them the power to regulate the industrial noise that's been disrupting their lives for the past 2 years. The Mara cryptocurrency facility uses thousands of high-powered fans to cool its computers that mine Bitcoin. Some residents say the constant roar, reaching up to 90 decibels, has made it impossible to enjoy their properties. Texas has become the top crypto mining location in the world, with Governor Greg Abbott welcoming the industry after China banned it in 2021. The state now has at least 27 Bitcoin facilities, using enough power for 680,000 homes. But Texas counties can't set noise ordinances like cities can, which is why residents are seeking to incorporate. The proposal will go to a poll on the 5th of November. And in the UK, Derbyshire County Council, led by Reform UK, has voted to oppose solar farm developments on agricultural land across the county, according to BBC News. Leader Alan Graves has described the developments as Chinese-manufactured eco-deserts that damage the countryside. Despite the council having limited direct planning authority over such projects, the motion passed with a large majority, though critics argue that renewable energy sources like solar are essential for energy independence and climate action. Brighton and Hove City Council is considering a trial to introduce approximately 300 rental e-scooters to be operated by Beryl. The trial would include speed limits of 12.5 miles per hour and restricted usage areas to reduce illegal scooter riding and air pollution. And a costly clerical error in Kent has forced an entire local council to face re-election, leaving taxpayers to foot a bill of nearly £4,500. BBC News reported that Birchington Parish Council in Thanet was elected back in May 2023, but it's now emerged the ballot was administered incorrectly from the start. The problem? Someone deleted the ward names before the election, effectively treating the parish as one single ward instead of two separate ones. The mistake went unnoticed until September, when the council chairman resigned. That's when officials realised they couldn't determine which ward had the vacancy, because legally those wards should have existed all along. Thanet District Council leader Rick Everett said they have no choice but to hold a fresh election for all 10 council seats at an estimated cost of £4,400 to local ratepayers. The devil's in the detail, and it's always important to get the process right. That's the latest from the Local Government News Roundup for Monday, the 13th of October, edition number 503, brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government, with support from Symphony 3. Simple, connected customer experiences. You can get more information about this episode, including story links, at lgnewsroundup.com. The Local Government News Roundup is recorded in the city of Greater Geelong, Victoria, on the land of the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation. We come your way every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. And I'll be back with you on Wednesday for more news from across the world of local government. Until then, thanks for listening and bye for now. The VLGA's Victorian Councillor Census is back again in 2025. All councillors in Victoria will be emailed the census on the 6th of October and will have until the end of the month to complete. In its second year, the annual census captures and tracks councillor demographics, attitudes and the key challenges to local governance over time. You don't need to be a VLGA member to participate, and at no stage will the VLGA have access to an individual's responses. The findings of the census will inform, influence and lead conversations across local government and with other tiers of government, and all responses will be fully confidential. This is your chance to have your voice heard as a councillor. The Councillor Census is part of the VLGA's commitment to support councillors on their journey to be successful community representatives.